because they considered there had been a breach of natural justice done, and they weren't privy to some of the information that that seemed to justify the decision. The committee has agreed to the rehearing, and that's why we're here now. So we are rehearing the application made by Crocodile Pistol. I've got to introduce, we're supported by Angie from the staff there. She'll be, some of the formalities are that we do have to swear in. We will be swearing in people giving evidence, so Angie will put everything back. So the process will be, we'll hear from the applicant, then we'll hear from the agencies evidence, and then later at the end will be an opportunity for submissions from the agencies and the final right of reply from the applicant. Any preliminary matters, anything that you haven't covered or you'd like to address on the table stage? Any preliminary matters?
Sir, I've got procedural matters that I'd like to bring to your attention.
Procedural.
On the 28th of April at 12:29 p.m, Health submitted a formal request under section 211 of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act to Angie Simon, requesting a full DLC decision and the licensing inspector's report regarding the Alexandra Blossom Festival. There was no response by the 29th of June or any documents that had been received, prompting Health to follow up via email and raise concerns about procedural fairness and natural justice. Wayne Boss responded on the 26th of June at 11:45, attaching the DLC decision dated 11th of April. He stated that an appeal was not lodged until the 22nd of May, with a hearing set on the 26th of May. He advised that he was preparing a summary licensing inspector's report and that administration support would send all papers as soon as possible. As of the 3rd of July, 8 days before the scheduled hearing, Health had not yet received the licensing inspector's report, the official notice of hearing, or the hearing schedule, despite the hearing being imminent and repeated formal requests for the information. This is leading to unfairness and not actually following natural justice.
Okay, thank you. Noted all that. Appreciate that. Any other preliminary matters?
Yeah, actually, I would just like to say that I support what is said there, that there was an inspector's report that stated in March was in this application, and an inspector's report dated the 30th of June, which is well after the days in which reports are to be filed, was received by us on Monday afternoon, which was what, the 7th of July. I had also once instructed, made a request for a full copy of the council file. That 30th of June report came to me on Monday of this week. It was obviously available as of the 30th of June, which was before I made that request for the file. So I would support what Mr. Wirt has said there regarding the process and disposal of that information.
Okay, thank you. Right. Any other preliminary matters? Okay, we'd like to call for appearances, please. Applicants.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the applicant, and with me is Mr. McPherson, the applicant, and so the chairperson of the Blossom Festival Committee is here who supported the application, Ms. Sterling.
Okay, just for clarification, there's Mr. McPherson, the only person giving evidence for this?
Mr. McPherson's giving evidence, and also Mr. Hughes, who is the attendant manager. He's back here. So could I just clarify that you just said that supplementary evidence?
Yeah. Right, Health.
Aaron Witt, Medical Officer Health Delegate for Health. I have assisting me Mrs. Stephanie Griffiths-Clay, also going to be a witness, and Lana Smythe, also going to be a witness.
Thank you.
With David Cowie, Senior Constable in the Alexandra Police. And I'm just making a submission.
So you're not making evidence, not providing evidence, you're just making a submission.
It's also given my submission of support. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. And that, I expect we haven't got any media, oh, sorry. And, yeah.
Wayne Moss, I'm the team leader, environmental health and the chief licensing inspector of Central Target Council.
Right. So this is being live streamed and we don't have any media here. Let's see now, so do you have other members doing? Right. Over to the applicant.
Yeah, I will stand if that's my councillor, quite seen from the back here, otherwise it's going to be all this one. Oh, it's over, I'll stand here.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That's about best thing. So, that is the committee, I appear for the applicant, recommendations have been filed, and as you'll be well aware, the application itself was comprehensive and had a number of attachments with the host responsibility of alcohol and so forth. I'll work on the basis that the committee has had an opportunity to peruse all of the documents, but I do wish to highlight some key points of the submission. It's our submission that this application does meet the criteria in the legislation and it should be granted. The object of the act is, in summary, to reduce and minimise alcohol harm. It's my submission that this application does meet the object of the act, and is also what is proposed as a reasonable system. The purpose of this legislation, when implemented, was that install a reasonable system of control of the sale of supply, and that the decisions of any committee and anyone else acting under the act being reasonable. I would submit that this application meets all of the criteria in section 142 as spelled out in the written submissions. I would particularly note that the application is supported by public health and by the Alexandra Police, who are the agencies who are on the ground and looking at the operation of the event. I would also note there's been a lot of discussion around section 22 and the other legislative provisions that in enacting this legislation in the comprehensive report from Sir Geoffrey Palmer, the on a large report, the philosophy behind this legislation is for decision making to be delegated to local bodies and local committees such as yourselves to make appropriate decisions for the area in which they live, and Parliament saw that the local community was best placed to consider what works for them on the ground. And of course, as I said before, the object of the Act is the ultimate consideration in any decision making. There has been this discussion around section 22, which I've addressed in the written submissions. There are a couple of points I'd like to emphasise there. One is, as supported by our case law, that section 22 is not a gateway job, and that is addressed in the Cambridge Raceway decision. That section 142 in my submission is the key one, and the sale and supply of alcohol issue that has been raised by Mr. Bolt in his report is one that is open to interpretation. The supplementary evidence addresses the fact that as of yesterday, the committee has agreed to take on sale and supply and the space caravan so that facility can operate, and the Blossom Festival serves a direct sale and supply there. But I would also submit that the legislation allows the committee to authorise sale and supply through its various stallholders, and there is a revenue stream for the applicant in terms of the stall permits that they're requiring all of the people who are looking to have stalls in the festival, are, they are paying the committee, and therefore the committee is receiving revenue from the sale of alcohol in that manner. Yeah, I'd also note that this will come out in the questions, no doubt, but reporting agencies are obviously key to all of this. As I've just said, the police and public health are not proposing, but it appears to me that Mr. Watson's report is not actually outrightly opposing the application either. The committee does have the jurisdiction to grant the licence on the terms sought. There's comprehensive management systems in place. The application is going to meet the object of the Act. And this umbrella licence scenario has operated. Last year, I understand it didn't operate. I think you'll hear more about that. But in the more individual storeholder licences, which I understand were problematic, but prior to that, this law change came in. And the reviews ago, but the festival has operated under the umbrella licence for a number of years without incident, and in my commission that is the appropriate way for an event of this nature to operate in compliance with the legislation. And that, yeah, unless the committee has any questions, and I'll leave it there because you have had the benefit of the last written material.
Thank you very much. Proceed with your witness.
Yes, so start my witnesses. So this one is two. You want to be sworn in as a
Yes.
The ceremony is legally and truthfully declared and confirmed that the evidence you have to give that none matters before the committee will be the truth of the holsters and confirmance.
And so, ask us to take the and patient for the committee.
Sure, Martin Rolls McPherson, I'm the event manager for the Alexander Blossom Festival, authorised by the applicant to hear this hearing. They have usual process that I normally sit there and it's the other way around. So, no, it's okay. I'm the event manager for the Alexander Blossom Festival, employed by the Alexander Blossom Festival Committee and coordinated the applicant. I'm authorised to give evidence on behalf of the applicant. Alexander Blossom Festival is an incorporated society and registered charity. My background, I'm originally from Christchurch, and now consider myself to be an Alexander local in '93. I've elected member of the Central Otago District Council, and for the last 30 years have been a member of either the council or the community or both. I have a background in hospitality, public relations and event management, and have a vast amount of experience in the industry. I've been involved with a variety of events involved in the sale and supply of alcohol, and that included a role as general manager of Waituri Creek Wines. In an early stage of my career, I was the manager of Lindau Teacher of the Abington Racecourse during the Academy Show, and I had previously held a general manager's licence. I've had a long association with the Alexander Blossom Festival, having been the event manager since 2009. Prior to this, I was the event manager for the festival between 1993 and 2002. I'm very familiar with the law around the sale and supply of alcohol in New Zealand. None of the operations I have been involved with in the past have come to the attention of reporting agencies for breaches of alcohol licenses. The festival's concept, history and vision. The Blossom Festival celebrates the beginning of spring in Central Otago. The first festival was held in 1957 and it's the longest running community festival in New Zealand. Over the years, it has remained a cornerstone of the calendar in the region. Alexandra is well known for its fruit and agricultural industries. Various events recognise its industry that have been the lifeblood of the area. Over 10,000 people attend various events across the 3 days of the festival. It is a community and family focused event. The team and I are immensely proud of the Blossom Festival and the reputation we have built up over the decades. We have always had a solid working relationship with all the local stakeholders and agencies in the region. The proposed sales of the event and ours. The applicant is seeking a special licence for Saturday in the Park on Saturday the 27th of September this year. Saturday in the Park is one of the most popular events in the Blossom Festival, as enjoyed by all who attend. There have never been any issues with the sale and supply of alcohol at this event. The applicant is seeking an umbrella licence that would include any operator selling and supplying alcohol at the festival. We would anticipate there be between 8 and 10 stalls. The various stalls will sell a range of craft beers, wines, spirits and liqueurs. A stall holders pay a fee to be part of the festival. There's also an extensive selection of low alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages available across the site. The proposed operating hours of the event are 11 AM to 5:30 on Saturday the 27th of September 2025. Up until 2024, the applicant has always held an umbrella licence, and this arrangement has worked well. In 2024, the individual stallholders held individual licences. There's an application that we seek to return to the umbrella licence style of operation, whereby the applicant holds the licence and contracts stallholders who pay a stallholder fee. Food vendors for Saturday in the Park. For this year's event, I have confirmed 38 food vendors, 2 coffee carts and 8 stalls selling alcohol. We ensure there are vegan, vegetarian dietary options. We welcome vendors to sell alcohol-free drinks. The following stalls are confirmed: burgers, fries, Asian platters, white baked fritters, pizza, sushi, South African biltong, Asian dumplings, Mexican tacos and Thai food. There's a real international food court set up, works really well. The sale of alcohol and special licence will be managed by Jamie Hughes, who you'll hear from later, who has a long history with the festival. He's an experienced and skilled manager. Each stall has its own staff and will ensure those supplying alcohol are fully trained and aware of the requirements of the legislation. There is a comprehensive briefing and training process for all stall holders, which will be overseen by Jamie Hughes, New Zealand Police Medical Officer and an inspector. I have reviewed the reports from the reporting agency and note that none of the agencies opposed the application. The special licence. 2024 alcohol licence for the Saturday in the Park event was operated differently as in previous years. We decided to have each individual stallholder obtain and operate individual licences. This was a difficult thing to manage, as people would wander off into the park with their drinks. It was unclear who was responsible for the customers due to the lack of defined licensed areas. Equally, it would be problematic for each stallholder to have a fenced-off area requiring people to stay there while consuming the drink instead. I just add to that, it would also make the whole atmosphere in the park quite promising, and the analogy I use would be like being sheep. It was for these reasons we seek to return to the umbrella licence. As noted above, stallholders pay us a fee to hold a licence, and in this respect, the applicant is receiving revenue from the sale of alcohol. Conclusion. The applicant has systems in place to keep their attendees and everyone involved in the festival safe. We have ample food options on site, free water, shaded areas, alcohol-free options, and an experienced manager. We maintain a close working relationship with all agencies and stakeholders in the festival. I consider that the applicant is a responsible operator and a suitable entity to hold a special licence. The Saturday in the Park event has operated for many years without incident. We have an impeccable record. We are committed to running a successful and enjoyable event that those attending Saturday in the Park can enjoy, and where alcohol is consumed safely and responsibly. I am immensely proud for the Alexandra Blossom Festival and the events that I have managed for the last 15 years without incident. As you've received some supplementary evidence, and this has happened in the last 48 hours. I am the event manager for the Alexandra Blossom Festival. I have prepared and submitted a brief of evidence in respect to the hearing today. This supplementary brief of evidence was submitted on Monday the 7th of July and relates to full development regarding the application for a special licence and proposals for the sale and supply of alcohol on September 27th, 2025. On Wednesday the 9th, July 20, I asked if the Alexandra Blossom Community Incorporated could operate a space caravan in the Saturday in the Park event. In previous years, the caravan has been hired from space and operated by the Alexandra District Club and its staff and volunteers. The event coming for 2025 and the District Club operates the caravan in the usual manner, providing a special licence. This has happened in previous years and been a fundraiser for the District Club. However, the District Club advised me on the 9th of July that they are not able to maintain and to manage and staff the caravan. The club management wished to step back, and that is why I was approached. The Spates Caravan has been a key community fundraiser in the past. The applicant has now agreed to operate the caravan subject to the course of the grant of a special licence. Accordingly, the applicant will be directly responsible for the sale and supply of alcohol from that caravan. There will be a range of Space products, a low alcohol beer option and soft drinks for sale. Water will be freely available at the caravan and will be complimentary. Jamie Hughes, the applicant's proposed manager, will still be overall manager for the entire licence area. Should a licence be granted, it is important there is one person who is ultimate responsibility overall. We will contract another person with appropriate experience in the sale and supply of alcohol to lead the team working the caravan. This arrangement will also support the applicant's goal to raise funds to support local community groups in Alexandria. The applicant is seeking an umbrella licence for all the licence area. This new arrangement in respect of the Space Caravan also means the applicant is directly involved in the sale and supply of alcohol as well. Attached to this evidence exhibit A, the current stallholder registration information that confirms the pricing structure of stallholders and the other registration requirements. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, we have got a few questions. Are you got anything before we go into questions? What anyone ask? Will we get witness? I'm talking to.
No.
Okay.
So,
Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much for that. It's really good. This right also re-emphasising that there's no real, we don't have any issue with the suitability. I think you mentioned it down here, a good entity, the applicant, no issue there. As we mentioned earlier, centred around a lot around the 22, section 22. But to put it in a bit of context, we'd like some more information on, even on the supplementary information, on the number of stall holders selling alcohol. And this comes back to, I guess we're just trying to get a better understanding under the object of the Act in this area. And you have stated that this event is a community family focused event. So it's not wine and food festival or beer festival, it's a community focused event. So we're just trying to get a context around, you say 8 stall holders selling alcohol at this family focused event. So can you explain who are the 8 stall holders and what they are selling?
Mr. Chairman, it's not an alcohol-centric event. We have alcohol as an aside to what else goes on. I can take it back to the history of it. When it was first proposed, when I first proposed having licensed booths at the Blossom Festival, I did have people in this community come up and say, it's a family event, you don't have alcohol in it. My counter to that was, do you have a glass of wine and beer with your kids sitting around the dining room table? And that's how we have managed it. It's people don't come to the Blossom Festival to drink. They come to be entertained. They can have a glass of wine or a craft beer along with their kids in a relaxed, family-friendly situation. So we have breweries from Wanaka and Queenstown selling craft beer. We have 3 local vineyards selling a selection of Pinot Gris, and local wines. It's one of the conditions, they have to be local. So we have a local sort of cocktail caravan selling low alcohol and alcohol-free cocktails. And Spates Caravan, which satisfies the needs of those who don't like craft beer or wine. Spates is still the dominant force in this area. And again, I'll reiterate, as I said in my evidence, we've built up that focus around the food court and the entertainment. And so, as you've seen by the map and the actual evidence, there's tables and chairs set out in there. People come sit, they're entertained, they have lunch, and mum and dad can sit with their kids and enjoy the show. Or the kids are off the kids stage, they know where mum and dad is, so when they come, and that's how, and it works. It works very, very well. When the change came through, like last year, the issues we had is we had no oversight. I put the situation, if vendor A has been selling to somebody who's intoxicated, and that person moves into vendor B's area, my management team, my security team and myself had no control over it. We could not identify who was responsible. Under a blanket license, an overall license, we had complete control over that venue and the punters in it.
Okay, well, that's a good point you raised. My understanding is the organiser is responsible, so if you have in other events, if they have separate license stall holders and they're not complying with their licenses, then the organiser can either shut them down. So I was trying to understand the difference between individual licence holders with a licence and individual stalls selling alcohol. You say, yeah, you can't, if it's not an umbrella one, you haven't got any control. But I would suggest that if you're saying that, then you are contradicting your responsibility as the organiser.
No, sir, I'm not. What I'm saying is that if we identify a patron who is intoxicated, the issue we have is identifying who's selling the alcohol.
So in the umbrella one, I go and buy a drink, or the people buy a drink and they're intoxicated sitting at the table. How do you identify whether they bought the drink? Well, okay, put it in context, Steve. If you have individual licenses with a little fence around and they've got a person at the gate buying the drink, they can control who's buying the drinks and where they're going. But in an umbrella one, you just said you've got more control. But if I'm sitting there intoxicated in the corner and you come to me, how do you know where I'm bought the drink?
As I said earlier, that having fences around those sites totally breaks down the whole atmosphere you're trying to create. You're trying to create an atmosphere where you can take your glass of wine from that booth and sit down with your spouse and your family and enjoy it there. And it's not the fact that you're pinning people into a cage, for want of a better term. And I think that actually encourages a great consumption, because people are sort of in that area almost being forced to scull it before they can get back out again and enjoy things. It's conflict.
Okay. That's all right, that's cool, that's what we wanted. So just on your supplementary evidence, the applicant will run the space. Caravan, yeah. Yeah, so, and so that's there, and okay, you just confirmed, then there'll still be other stallholders selling alcohol, winemakers and brewery, craft beer and things like that, and cocktail bars. Right, let's go to check out any other questions from Mr. Bennett.
Oh, so first, I suppose it's the whole notion of control and of almost normalising alcohol in a social system with kids and all this sort of thing. And how do you manage a rugby team, perhaps, or netball players, something like that, coming in and having a few wines or thoroughly enjoying the alcohol that's available alongside a family right at the next table? And I'm interested as to how is that the sort of thing that you are promoting? And
the way the event is constructed and the type and style of entertainment and the pricing of it as well, it's affordable and it's accessible. It's not the sort of gig which attracts 18 to 25-year-olds to start with. The majority of our audience are, well, here's the overriding philosophy. Mum, dad and the kids and the grandparents come down and watch the parade. Mum, dad, the kids and the grandparents then go into the park after the parade. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the grandparents take the younger kids home and they stay and have a glass of wine and enjoy the entertainment. At 6 o'clock it's finished. Mum and dad go back and relieve the grandparents. That's how it works. And that's how it's been modelled for the last 20 years. And again, the philosophy being that it's not alcohol centric. It's not like a food and wine festival where people go to drink. It is an event where you can get a drink if you choose to, but it's not the fault. It's not the focus of the gig. the focus of the gig is the entertainment and the outdoor activity and the dining experience that you have. So it's a more holistic approach.
How many would you say you get into that sort of centre at lunchtime? Is lunchtime a big time for you?
Well, the parade finishes at 1 o'clock and we have 18,000 people on the street and probably 60 to 70% of those people go into the park. So we can have between 10 and 12,000 people, depending on what the weather's doing.
But in the, as you can find them.
If you can find them, yes.
How many in the enclosed area, the licensed area?
Licensed area, 8 to 10,000?
All seated?
No.
Stand walking around?
And walking around.
With alcohol?
No, the alcohol is contained within that area, but we have a large area of arts and crafts markets, right? And people don't wander around there with a beer in their hands because the signage is stoutly saying no alcohol past this point.
You've got control points.
Control points where we state quite clearly, do not bring alcohol into this area. Yeah. And again, it's policed by our security people quietly, just, you know, and I don't recall having incidents of people taking alcohol out of that area. They just don't do it because the audience has been educated over years of what our expectations are as managers. And you have a glass of wine, you have it in this area. If you want to go shopping, you're not wandering around the craft markets with a can of Speight's in your hand or a glass of wine.
No, but I am showing my age here, but there is a demised premises, if you like, that people can see and know where the alcohol is available for sale, where you're allowed to consume it, and it's delineated quite clearly.
Quite clearly, yes. And so as you look at that map that shows the company evidence, it's a semicircle with a stage, tables and chairs with a focus on the entertainment. By the way that it's physically constructed, that dictates where the alcohol is being consumed. And we have auxiliary signage there telling people no alcohol past this point, which is somewhat unnecessary because naturally people do that because that's where the push, that's where the food is, that's where the seating is, that's where the entertainment is.
Yeah. Would you say that it's quite unique? I mean, are you familiar with other outlets?
Yes, and it is unique. It reflects, Bottom Festival itself is quite unique. It's 68 years young this year. It's a model which has been developed consistently for the last 20 odd years. And as I say, it's a little bit like grandma's carrot cake. You might put a bit more lemon juice in the icing, but you don't change the recipe because the recipe works.
Yeah.
And it has worked for long. And it doesn't work when people have in the past have gone and changed the recipe. That's the problems because the committee and myself have worked hard and long to make sure this model works. And as the professionals here will say, it does work.
You've gone through 3 iterations of the same liquor, I think.
The other day I actually called it that, the Sales Liquor Act, because I think I was showing my age.
Yes.
The Sales Alcohol Act, yes.
Same.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Would it be fair to say, firstly, that most of the people that are in that area are there to watch the proceedings and the prize giving and the winners of the floats and the entertainment from grandchildren and that are participating in all of those things?
They're there for the show. And the crowning ceremony and to be with friends and family. And, you know, in the last few years, we're finding people going and they're nominating somebody to stay on the table to book it. And then the rest of them go out watching parades, so I've got a table reserved and then they get back. Again, I'll reiterate, the alcohol is an aside to this. It's not the impetus of the whole event. And we've tried to take a very mature attitude towards it.
That was sort of the point I was making, that from observations, most people are there to see the finale of the prize giving.
Yes.
While there is the ability to have consume some alcohol, that is not the focus.
It's not, it's never has been the focus of the meeting.
Just I hit fire on the, you quite clearly said that the area is delineated and signed, you don't encourage. Is there any reason why you haven't restricted the licence area to that delineated area?
Well, the whole premises is fixed, right? So we have complete control over, there's 5 entrance points, we have complete control of who's coming up. And it's not bringing alcohol in it, that's, so we have that first border control. When a vendor has an individual licence and you're sort of, the whole idea of having sort of 6-foot construction fences outside the front of them completely destroys the atmosphere. Education and passive enforcement by our security teams and the signage which says do not take alcohol beyond this point. And that's basically so that people are not taking alcohol from the entertainment area into the carnival area where the sideshows are. Because there's a temptation for that and it doesn't happen. Because A, it's being policed by our security team, and B, again, the education which has gone on over the last 15 to 20 years, our audience are self-aware.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, when I'm talking about delineating, I don't know if you went to Wales or Warwick, but the little white picket fence, and you got security there, you got security guards, you got possible enforcement. All I'm just saying is that there are examples where it works well with a little white picketed fence, security guard there, and the area is.
Well, in this case, because the market stalls are butting into each other, right? That we don't need the fence because the actual vendors, food and the beverage vendors, are forming that circle. So that that eliminates the area quite naturally.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any, based on your supplementary changes, how do you believe that satisfies section 22 of the act? The change having, by having the applicant operate the banks.
Yes. I think our application satisfies section 22 already.
Right. Yeah, but I don't go across examine this. Anybody, any other agencies, inspector got anything that
We've heard, so, strictly, confirming you've got this plan, the site plan.
Oh, we've got a-
It's about site plan, this.
we'll just check? Six.
Is it the real plan as well?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm working, that's why we have the delineated area, right? That's why quite interesting to hear about delineated areas and signage, because all it's got here is a couple of boxes for food and beverage, which I think from the stage, there's no semicircle. I know other people like advised me that what's layout's like. I apologise, I haven't been there, but yeah, that diagram, that's why we're asking this question. That diagram doesn't show what you've been telling us.
Yeah, I think Mr. Hughes might be able to expand further on that.
Okay.
Yeah. You raised the wheels, what's that? Wheels of Wanaka. And you made reference to the bars and picket fence. Well, the Wheels of Wanaka was actually under one licence. What about alcohol license?
I issued, several licenses for those one.
Well, we've got one license.
Sorry, I actually got a license. It was a big social with running and, they had to have their own set of special license.
This,
Yeah, anyway, but we don't want to get arguing about that.
Yeah.
I'm saying there were areas there where they had, license areas which were fenced off and had security on them, okay?
okay.
Right, we don't want to get, this is, but it's a good point to raise, so we need to get it going. But we can, outside of this, I can come back. It's not going to be I'm just using it as an example. If we haven't got 100% right, that's just an example, okay?
Okay.
That's it. Right,
I think that fencing is unusual. They used to do it on Winter Festival.
sorry.
I think they used to do that in the Winter Festival on Peninsula Park.
Oh, we've got lots of examples. What I would raise it for was the reference to geofencing, just to, which ruins the atmosphere. I was raising the issue when we have given special. There have been occasions where a licence area has been designated with little white brick fence. I think, Charles Warwick might be someone, and I've got other examples, but I just want to get around the geofence thing, okay? I don't want to say there's other ways of geofencing. Right.
Mr. Chairman, have you got this image in your evidence? Which is an aerial photograph of the actual layout of the park.
I don't think so.
I haven't seen it in the documentation.
No. It's different. Can I ask, Edmund, for a photocopies and distribute it? Because I think this is going a long way to,
Yeah, that's
once you see it, you'll understand it.
that totally, pictures are legal. Okay. So nothing else being, no other ones spontaneous raising the. Right.
So then.
Yes, thanks, sorry. No, you can stand up. Right,
So the next witness is Mr. Hugh.
oh, sorry, yeah.
I,
Sorry, getting ahead of ourselves here.
yeah, do you want to discuss it? Yes.
So,
So, okay.
we'll then reply voice.
Just have to wait for. No?
And if you're going to have problems on page, you put the book. One to four.
Have you got a picture? Yes, one thing I actually. What's it? Well, that's true. Should have read about that.
Are you going to read your evidence, Mr. Hughes?
You can give it a good read. Really hard.
Listening for
Okay. Just hold a moment. We've got this in front of us now. This was very helpful. Thank you. Any questions on the drawing? Just
And locations 136, right around the city centre, with a mixture of food and beverage sales. So you can see by that forms that natural amphitheatre, which contains those people who are eating and drinking in that area.
Yeah, but it's a big food.
Yes, huge.
Thank you for that. Thanks. Right. It's very respectful.
Do you want to be sworn in using the oath or the information?
Information, Michael.
Please state your name for the record.
Jamie Allen Hughes.
Do you solemnly, sincerely and truthfully declare and affirm that the evidence you're about to give touching on the matters before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So Mr. Hughes, if you could state your full name and occupation for the commission, please.
Jamie Hughes, I a driving.
Yeah, and where in the rest?
It's an evening. I am also good evidence in the half there, just read through this and speculating for the status. Dunedin based, I've been involved in the management license premises since 2003. I currently hold an on this. I'm involved in consulting for special licenses and working at large independent amenities, sale and development. The company can take on a range of roles, client bar staff, feature managers, stock management, setting up and building and license agreements. We supply around 2,000 bartenders, 52 managers per year, as well as managing approximately 30 special licenses per year. The next bit is to read out my events that I do, but I really focus on the ones that are probably relevant.
Good, it's good.
I will add the Dunedin Craft Beer Festival that it's a similar issue. I've worked for Alexander and Boston previously, and I believe we have all the systems in place to ensure the Boston Festival is set up. Each software looks at the law. I was there for qualifications in crisis management and mass medical emergency in roles and life. In my experience, the umbrella license model is the best system for all the statements. S25 prevents us obviously from doing that elsewise and with shamed or ministry of this shamed. We have the two licenses for one group. There is an alcohol management plan that has responsibility. Obviously, in place, all stallholders are left no doubt as the requirements under the sale supply of the Alcohol Act. Each stallholder must have an operator who's fully versed in English education. I hold current manager's certificate and will be the overall assigned manager for the event should the license be granted. I will have oversight and responsibility for the sale of supplied alcohol. I will give a briefing to the stallholders to ensure signage is in place, the all stallholders, and ensure that signage is in place. Each stall must have a designated manager. Sorry, triple so although I would be the named manager. My intention of managing this event is to bring up 3 of my team. These people travel New Zealand with me and are as skilled as I am. Each is a certified and experienced manager. I intend to have 1 manager assigned to go around each of the stalls and liaise with the stallholder checking compliance, and this is continuously through the day. 2 other chief managers will be on site walking around the defined licensed area of Pioneer Park, and I'm confident my staff are fully trained and qualified to do this role. I also believe this might be overkill for this event. Normally I'll probably come to this with myself and one other. So my other is doing the barking wise and I'll be doing the field and constantly however, given circumstances, having the need camera. Ultimately, I will be responsible overall for the designated and as the designated manager of the entire special license area. We will have vast amount of food that's been touched on already, and we have allied security who I work with quite closely, along with the agencies here. People on board. I've managed the Saturday in the Park event for Alexander Boston Festival on several previous occasions, as stated above. The umbrella license model is the best system to responsibly manage the sale and supply of the with S22, I've come across it a few times now with, say, wild foods and to then crowd beer festival, and a couple of solutions we had. One was to name the vendors and the applicants as well. There was an addendum afterwards and add them on, so they are part of that license, and therefore it covers the can sale and supply. I also point out that it's can and not must. Then
I'm sorry, well, there was some, sorry, what festival was that?
and so we've done it for wild foods.
Wild food, okay.
Yeah. Dunedin Craft Beer Festival, we have 73 vendors and we have one overall special license, one duty manager, and each team must have their own duty manager and they feed into a common area. The other solution to it is that the vendors have become suppliers or contractors to the event, and therefore the money that they take in is not theirs officially until it is signed up as a contractor, even though that money is going into their machines. But they still have the right, the DLC then also have the right to see that information or bank accounts.
And where is it? Where have you seen that?
So that was from Timaru District Council. I challenged it and they said, the DLC said, no, we have full right to have a look at the books and make sure we know where that money's going. So what we asked those vendors to do is hold that money in an account, and it has to match what comes on the EPOS. The trick is cash. Cash is a big problem, but we take an honesty system on that. In terms of reducing alcohol harm, I don't think where the money is going to make my job. It's yeah. Yeah, so with the space team coming in, we will put one of my duty managers in there as well. So I trust that it will be run cleanly, clearly. We've gone over the site map, we've got the new back, or the new boom, so we don't go through there. Blossom Festival for me is one of the more relaxed events I have on my calendar. I've done multiple times in this content and annoyed not to be on last year, the last one. It is a pretty crazy day for me. I mean, there's always going to be issues, but my manager's report back to Martin has been no issues. There's the odd 50-year-old person that has one too many and will just actually mom says not to go. We've never had flights or anything like that. We had games arrive one year, and I just walked out and said, well, you can remember and sort of start to go home, get changed, and oh, we don't wear a patch if we're going to come in. Obviously, we don't have the law that prevents it, but it's just jumping on this thing straight away and getting involved in so. And this is what we expect in this area. But if alcohol was the focus, we've got them up on the stage. I think that's we've got the stage there and essentially. So it's not the primary focus in my eyes.
Any question?
Thank you. Just to use the difference, did you operate the Boston Festival under the umbrella system and under the system? Yeah, you missed them.
My whole team was removed last year because there's no requirement for them.
Right.
And because they don't have the special licensing anymore, there's no live issue on it. Yeah, so once the license is gone, there's no one to process afterwards, in my opinion. It was kind of odd to remove that whole system.
Yes, you'd appreciate the situation that the VLC's in.
Mm.
The 22.2 sitting in there, and
Yeah.
we now have some advice from Westlaw. And I don't know whether you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
But it's specific, it's the inference is certainly that the workarounds of 22.2 are to be discouraged. So we've got this in front of us as well as listening to you, and so we're trying to find the solution to this, and I appreciate the examples that you have given us, because we will have a look at it. We are solution driven. And I appreciate your
So, with the money thing, we talk about these boss machines in there. But what happens with vendors is if you're like me, can I hold on to your wallet for the next hour? And that's the, why are you holding my money? And that runs into a bit of the, some people get really fired up. And in some, one of the bigger areas, we just say, well, don't come. But we've got something
it's
to
consistent with the entry. You can do it as a landlord requirement.
Yeah, actually, won't be part of this. And most people are trained for that, especially the ones that travel around. But if you're in a smaller area, it's kind of hard to just throw them out, say, no, you can't come, because they're expected to be there.
You wouldn't expect that here.
Yeah. Pretty good, yeah, there's a, very confined crowd and confined vendors.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
This is another example we know about is the Rock Festival, where they issue these machines to small bottles, the money went into Catholic, then they money went back. I know the cash issue with some of them, but they upset a lot of people because they couldn't use cash on those stores. But it's another way of, or when you've got a large number of stores, seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Yep, doing craft beer fest, we issue AWOC units, which they have RFID tags that they use, and we take a percentage of their turnover. We did say, so the benefit of that system is that I can walk up and take a machine and a vendor's know all the sell. So I have another system of control.
Is it fit in your, since really, to get on the record, on both options, umbrella or license, I would have thought the organiser would still have engaged you as duty manager to oversee and make sure you're going to have yourself and two other duty managers walking around. If it was with the licensee, the license holders and individual licenses, the organiser still has to make sure that those licensees are doing the right thing. So I would have thought that you still have the same sort of structure in place. I don't understand. You tend to turn around and say that a licensee is not behaving. Well, that's the organiser's problem.
We've got 3 bars in the street, on licenses, sitting side by side. There's responsibility for them to pound in the street. It's a similar scenario, like, so, yeah, I understand where you come from and our personal roles in there, but I have no teeth in that. As a duty manager, I can't control any of the crowd that come into the public area.
You can control if the duty manager on the licensed site as an organiser, you can go and say, you're not complying with your.
It's their own license.
Yeah, but if they're letting people go outside their licensed area in a bad way, the police or someone could go in there and say you're not complying with the license.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's fair. But
Yeah.
We seem to get a lot of words in here saying, if it's individual license, we've got no control. That's what it seems to be coming through on quite a bit of the evidence. And I just want to make sure that we're understanding the organiser is ultimately responsible for that event.
So the way I see it is that piece of land that you've licensed is theirs, and they are responsible for that piece of land, just like the bar would be. And that duty manager is responsible no matter what. So they come out of that common area, and they're in no man's land, they're in public area. I wouldn't touch them. I wouldn't do anything.
But if you're the organiser, and you've got people coming out of licensed areas doing the service of your event, you would take action, surely.
I naturally would.
Yeah, okay. I just want to put a bigger picture, because we get a lot of these hearings.
Yeah.
And it's really good to get this information so we can use it in the future.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd still take charge if I was the licensee.
Right. Any other questions? Anybody in the Tony?
Yeah, this is, it's all about, in the wrong order, but I think just to clarify what everybody's saying, what your queries over the having several different managers and the role of the Blossom Festival itself. If you have got that 8 different special licenses and 8 different stalls and everyone's got their defined area or everybody's, and your comment about how the Blossom Festival itself should be in a position to take action, they might be able to take action as the event organiser and maybe ask the place to throw somebody out, but they can't actually take action under the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act because they're not the licensee. So your comment about the Blossom Festival should have an overall manager who can come and chuck people out. You can't have 2 managers on one special licensed area. There's
No, we understand that.
We understand.
it could be tension and space.
It's not quite what we're saying.
So that sort of question.
Looking at the contract, the vendor will sign with the Alexander Blossom Festival. If the Alexander Blossom Festival hasn't put in something in that contract, if they don't comply with their license, if they've got individual licenses.
Yes, well, they can shut them down, but
Yeah. That's right.
that's based on.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying, we've had some issues, we may hear a bit more from the health that, you know, fire them all out of control, but I'm just saying, if, the organiser's still got to take some responsibility for.
Oh, yes, yeah, no, I think they do, I think.
That's all, that's what I'm
Which is what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
By having done rec.
They read that.
25 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Got any more questions?
No,
Is there any other agencies got anything we should be raising with Mr. Hughes? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Hughes.
that's up to you.
Go to health and.
Thank you, sir. I have, submitted an opening submission. I've put forward that, since it's been circulated, that can be taken as read. I have got 2 witnesses, Alana Smythe, who will actually be giving evidence on observations that, she conducted at the Clyde Food and Wine Festival, and Mrs. Stephanie Burgess Pay of evidence of multiple years, emphasis on multiple years for observing the Alexandra Blossom Festival.
Your submission.
Page 71.
Thank you.
Sorry, to be honest with you.
Waiting for it here. Thank you.
Yep. So. Continue. Was that your,
Is it okay to be taken as read?
yeah, yes, happy with it? Just quickly fix through.
If I'm open for questions or as per pleases, go into witnesses and then questions after both witnesses have said their statement. It's up to you, David. Okay, first off will be Alana Smythe. She'll be giving a submission.
Just regular.
Sorry, brief of evidence. Yeah, brief of evidence for the Clyde Food and Wine Festival.
Do you want to be sworn using the oath of the information?
Information, please.
You solemnly, sincerely, and truthfully declare and affirm that the event you're about to bear testimony on the matters before this interview will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing.
I do.
Ms. Smith, could you state your full name?
Alana Ethan Smythe, and I'm a Health Promotion Officer with the National Public Health Service of Health New Zealand.
Thank you. Would you please continue with your observation and brief and get to the committee?
Absolutely. Just reading from paragraph 5.
That's good.
Thank you.
I have been requested to provide evidence of my recent experience monitoring the Clyde Wine and Food Festival on Sunday, 20 April 2025, an event where multiple vendors, wineries and breweries were selling alcohol. Each vendor had applied for and obtained their own separate on-site special license to be able to sell alcohol to the public to consume at the event. This meant that each vendor had their own bar/point of sale, their own nominated manager on duty, and their own licensed area where the sale, supply and consumption of alcohol could take place. The festival organisers had also obtained an on-site special licence for the areas within the event site which weren't already covered by a licence held by one of the wineries or breweries. When I arrived at the event, I observed that none of the licensees had anything in place to delineate their own licensed areas and nothing to prohibit patrons entering or exiting the area with alcoholic drinks. Patrons were permitted to purchase their drinks from any licensee and then leave that licensed premises and roam throughout the event while consuming it. This appeared to me to be in contravention of section 2471C of the Act. In addition to this, all wine was being sold poured into a generic souvenir glass that was provided to patrons on entry. There were no branded cups or other ways to know which winery had supplied the drink to the patron. This, coupled with the fact that patrons were allowed to leave the licensed premises with their alcohol, made it very difficult to know who would be responsible for any consequent breaches of the Act that might be observed, such as allowing a person to become intoxicated or the sale of alcohol to an intoxicated person. As an example, on a number of occasions I witnessed patrons walking through the crowds with 3 beverages in hand. The maximum number of serves permitted by each on-site special licence was 2. As the patrons had been permitted to leave the licensed premises where they were sold the alcohol, it was not possible to know which licensees had made the sales to follow up on these apparent non-compliances. I also witnessed influenced and intoxicated younger patrons who were drinking. The drinks had been poured into the generic glasses, and they had been made to stay within the licensed area of where they had purchased the drinks. They had gathered in a central area close to the stage and music. I could not tell which licensee had sold them the alcohol to discuss this with the duty manager. Even if I could have, the patrons had been allowed to move on from the licensed area for which the duty manager was responsible. It wouldn't be possible to ask the manager to leave that area to assess and manage those patrons. Following my monitoring of the event, I concluded that the licensing structure contributed to breaches of the Act. Specifically, licensees were not required to clearly delineate and actively manage their own licensed areas. It is my opinion that this resulted in numerous breaches of section 2471C by allowing patrons to remove alcohol from the licensed premises. And additionally, the structure posed significant challenges for the agencies in verifying compliance with licence conditions and in identifying which licensee was responsible for any breaches or issues that occurred so that they could be addressed directly.
Thank you, Ms. Smythe. Would you like to question Ms. Smythe now, sir, or
Yeah, that'd be
move on to Stephanie Burgess?
And that's what I'm asking.
You got any question?
I do. You point on page 11. Thank you for this. Very detailed. And it really does. What prima facie is that it wasn't a particularly well-run festival at all. For this to be allowed to happen is pretty sick, and I'm sure it's not allowed to happen at the Blossom Festival, but it's happening here on this one. Whether or not to the sort of license, I don't blame the license for this, because your point in 11, where people were able to leave areas and become intoxicated, and I don't think that it would be difficult without the festival being properly managed to prevent that happening. It looks as though that particular event that you quoted didn't have the means to control those licensed premises.
Yeah, just firstly, I certainly wouldn't, apologies if the impression I gave from that statement was that the event in its kind of totality was out of control. I did witness on occasion patrons who were definitely influenced and the occasional person who was intoxicated, but it wasn't by any means an unruly or out of control event. My feelings and thoughts after monitoring it was that there wasn't really a sense of responsibility or accountability from any of the licensees providing and selling the alcohol, because the patrons then left the area for which they were responsible and there was no way to link that back to the person making the sale. So it was almost like the perception of consequences, I suppose, or enforcement wasn't there, which possibly contributed to some some decision making that wouldn't have been made otherwise.
I mean, who was in charge of it?
Well, each licensee was responsible for the license
For the-
area that
for
they
the
had.
offence?
Yeah, but there was nothing even for the agencies to see what that licensed area was. There was no picket fencing, there was no delineation. It was the roadway with stall holders either side of the road and patrons purchasing drinks from the stall holders, roaming throughout the event and going to food vendors, markets and music.
Thank you.
Street area was closed off there.
Yes,
So it was a confined area within the precinct of Clough.
yeah, that was a contained website.
Thank you.
Yeah. If the whole area been licensed and you've done your inspection and come across the little things you saw, how do you know who to go, what action would you have taken?
We would have spoken to the duty manager for the licensed premises, and it's basically the responsibility ultimately sits with them to then take the appropriate steps. And I expect having an overarching license would encourage better systems in place to allow that to happen as well.
Yeah, okay.
They would potentially look at systems of knowing where patrons were purchasing alcohol from to be able to follow up on any issues like that.
So the organiser, did you talk to the organiser?
Yes, we did, yeah.
They didn't have a duty, an overarching might be proposed for here. Mr. Hughes is going to be operating an umbrella duty manager thing, but he's still got duty managers for each of the outlets, is that right? Yeah. So did Clyde not have a duty manager?
They did, yes, and an overall, I think they might have had an event manager as well as a duty manager that was roaming because they had a license themselves as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks.
Thank you, Smith. Now, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Question for Ms. as to whether her view is that an umbrella license is a more appropriate style of management for this more type of events.
I think you said indicated that.
Well, yeah. Also, I didn't catch.
Well, yes, you indicated that you thought the umbrella
Yeah.
license would have been, for that example, a better way of managing it.
Yes.
Because the duty manager.
But what is her view for this application?
Right.
Her view on this application before the committee.
Well, I presume your view is, what you've been telling us, it's supporting your view that an umbrella, principle for this, or, Blossom Festival is supported by you.
Yes, yeah, I certainly think it's a more enforceable style of licensing from the agency's perspective.
Okay.
Now, would you state your name, your occupation, and then your.
May it please the committee, my name is Stephanie Ann Pay. I'm currently employed by the National Public Health Service of Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora as an enforcement officer with portfolios in tobacco and vaping, alcohol compliance and the delegated functions of the Medical Officer of Health under the Southern Climate.
Could we please take the oath, please?
Amazing.
Please place your hand in the Bible. Do you swear by Almighty God that the evidence you're about to give, touching the matters before the committee, be the truth, or truth?
I do.
I presume what you previously told us is the truth.
It sure was.
If you go to, Paul, it is.
I hold delegated authority to carry out functions of the Medical Officer of Health under Section 151 of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012. Over the past 10 years, I've monitored the Alexandra Blossom Festival in my capacity as an alcohol compliance officer. The festival has been a significant public event in Central Otago region for more than 60 years and consistently attracts large crowds, including families and young people. A critical aspect of my role has been ensuring that the sale and supply of alcohol is managed safely and responsibly in accordance with the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012. From the time I began overseeing the festival until 2023, the event operated under a single special licence held by the festival organisers. Under the centralised model, the festival committee was responsible for the overall management of licensed activities, including the appointment of a duty manager who remained on site throughout the event. Each year, I would meet with the appointed duty manager either prior to or during the event. Together, we conducted compliance checks at all the alcohol serving stalls. These inspections include verifying the availability of free and accessible drinking water, ensuring all required signage, for example, alcohol-free areas and host responsibility information, was correctly displayed, and observing the conduct of staff and patrons. Minor compliance issues, when identified, were promptly addressed by the duty manager. The cooperation and responsiveness demonstrated under the centralised model were consistently high and contributed significantly to the event's safe operation. As an example of the effectiveness of this management structure, in 2017, I received a message from the duty manager at the time, Damien Black. He expressed frustration that one of the breweries had continued to sell alcohol after the licence had expired. He took immediate action and instructed them to cease sales. And you'll see that in Appendix 1. This incident supports the position that having a single overarching duty manager and one licence holder is more effective approach to ensuring compliance. Throughout my years of monitoring the festival, I found it to be well managed from an alcohol compliance perspective. I did not observe intoxicated individuals or incidents involving minors being served or consuming alcohol. The centralised licensing model was effective in creating a safe, controlled and family-friendly environment. In 2024, however, the licensing structure had changed. For the first time, individual alcohol vendors were required to apply for and operate under their own special licences. This meant that festival organisers were no longer the sole licensee responsible for alcohol sales, and no central duty manager was appointed to oversee alcohol compliance across the site. At the time of the 2024 festival, I was temporarily seconded to smoke-free enforcement duties full-time and was not actively monitoring alcohol matters at the event. However, I became aware via a Facebook advertisement that one of the attending breweries was promoting the sale of jelly shots. Please see Appendix 2. The promotion and sale of jelly shots are inconsistent with the intent and requirements of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012, which prohibits promotions likely to encourage excessive or inappropriate consumption of alcohol and any promotion which are likely to have special appeal to minors. This type of irresponsible promotion would likely not have occurred under the previous centralised licensing model. The absence of a central duty manager and a single licence holder under the new licensing regime created a fragmented oversight structure. As a result, enforcement officers such as myself, police and licensing inspectors now have no clear point of contact for addressing compliance concerns across the site, making coordinated management significantly more difficult. In comparison, the previous single licence model allowed the regulatory agencies to liaise directly with the designated duty manager, who had the authority to ensure consistent application of host responsibility measures and to resolve issues quickly. And in conclusion, based on my extensive professional experience monitoring the Alexandra Blossom Festival, I strongly support a return of the previous model, where the festival organisers hold a single special licence supported by the designated duty manager. This centralised approach has consistently demonstrated effective alcohol management, providing clear lines of accountability, enabled strong communication with the regulatory agencies, and upheld the safety and integrity of the event. In contrast, the decentralised licensing model used in 2024 revealed gaps in oversight and allowed at least one instance of irresponsible alcohol promotion to occur.
something that would likely not have been identified, would likely have been identified and addressed under the centralised system. Having regard to the purpose of the object of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012, I submit that declining this licence would not benefit the community as a whole. It would not support the safe and responsible sale, supply and consumption of alcohol, and would not help minimise the harm caused by excessive or inappropriate alcohol consumption. Such an outcome would not be reasonable or consistent with the intent of the Act. To safeguard public safety, maintain responsible alcohol service and preserve the family-friendly nature of this iconic community event, I recommend the reinstatement of a single special licence held by the festival organisers.
Thank you.
You've heard some of that, sorry.
If, Stephanie is open to any questions from the service.
Well, you've heard some of the discussion. That's the same thing again. Some of your statements there about with the individual licenses, the organiser no longer sole licensee responsible, no central duty manager. I understood what the proposed for this application is. There's going to be either model. If you had licensing, the organiser would still have a duty or person going around making sure the licensees are doing the right thing. But you're suggesting here that didn't happen in 2024.
I don't believe it happened. I wasn't there, but I do believe there was a lot, as I said, about the irresponsible promotion, and also there was people that had their own liquor licences were not ensuring that people were staying inside their designated area. So therefore, there was thousands of breaches under Section 247 because they were allowing people to take their alcohol.
There was no one from the organiser, from the ABF going around and checking that the.
I'm not sure about that. I wasn't there, so.
Oh, well, that probably gets back to that whole point about the organiser anyway. So you do agree though, under if you had single license rather than umbrella, the organiser could still have an overall duty manager, it might just be you or someone, or someone, like security going around and checking on the licensees?
Yes, absolutely. However, if there is somebody intoxicated out, amongst everybody else, who is responsible for that? Because if they don't have an overarching one, then they don't have actually a certified manager. The certified managers are the ones that will be working in the licensed premises. So, am I?
Yeah. And you're saying that under the licensees, individual licensees, if you get an intoxicated person outside of their licensed areas, the organiser can't do anything about it.
The organiser can, but how can the organiser know who's been selling to these intoxicated people?
So under the umbrella one, we're going to tell them who's been selling.
Well, they would probably just do it now. I don't know. Well, they would anyway, because they don't want.
Yeah, I understand.
It doesn't address the person who got intoxicated, or it doesn't address the.
Well, I suppose from my point of view, if everybody is just, you've got all these different licensees and they're just serving them the alcohol and putting them out, they're not taking responsibility themselves. Because how are they going to be, I shouldn't say how they're going to be caught, but if the police walked in and there was somebody intoxicated, he won't know, they won't know which licensee sold to them. Whereas if there's an overarching licence and duty manager, then the police can go to them and go, do you realise you're breaching section whatever for intoxicated people? So you've got that one person that is accountable.
So the police just talk to the organiser, they don't talk to the.
Well, they won't know.
Retailer.
No, because they won't know which retailer sold to them. So that kind of what becomes an issue, is that we don't know who actually sold to that minor, for example, or which one sold to that intoxicated person. But if you've got the overarching licence and you've got a duty manager or the Blossom festival, because they'll have the licence, they will be the ones that take the fall for a minor being there drinking, or an intoxicated person being there drinking. But under individual ones, you don't know who has sold to these people.
But just on a general point then, not this point. You would always support an umbrella type of license for all events.
Yes, I would, because then you've got a central person or central licensee that you can liaise with if you've got any problems, anything like that. For me, it's just one thing that I've seen work very, very well over the years, and I can see what can happen if that's taken away from the Blossom Festival.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, okay, I understand. Well, I'm just trying to get you've got your hair. Your expertise and experience. You know, I'm not going to get into, big events like Monica showed me. Large events like that, where we've gone away from umbrella licenses. So yeah, just trying to get. So I'm just trying to understand if you turn up at a future hearing, and I just don't understand. I'm talking. You seem to be very strong on umbrella. I just want to know if there's a health, New Zealand health, position that umbrella are better than individual.
Can I voice?
Yeah,
I think from, because us three are all delegated medical officers.
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking from us three, that an umbrella license gives a mechanism. It gives a mechanism that enables control, enables de-escalation. The issue, which is what is happening here, is section 22.2, and the emphasis is on 22.2 without the emphasis of can, sell and supply, and then commentary, which is just commentary. So I think there's a lot that's going on here. I'm going back to it, the decisions about the wheels to Wanaka, there was a overarching on license, multiple of licenses. I just want to put that in.
I'm saying, I'm trying to pull it up while you were talking. They put me up.
Yeah. So I think on behalf of the three of us that do sign off special, an overarching on license is a mechanism to enable health when we're on the ground and police to act outside of the individual licence areas. Otherwise, it becomes a place of resort.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it's good. I just want to take this opportunity then getting to the object of the act on that. So let's take the one show where they used to walk around with trays and pins and things like that, because the whole area was licensed.
Yeah.
You support that? What the umbrella enables an organiser to do with the promotion and sale of alcohol. If you've got restricted areas, you keep it into defined areas.
But so does an alcohol management plan. Within the process of actually the application and under discussion of the application, you can turn around and limit the supplies. And then it's up to the applicant and their staff to actually observe and use SCAB to de-escalate the intoxication level. And because it's an overarching licence, then the overarching licence enables the mechanism for them to evict or put them into a safe zone to then evict from it. Without that mechanism, place of report, no control, nothing to enforce.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Just
yeah, this is, we're not,
yes,
then we'll come to Aaron.
because we have the situation where to achieve this right now, you need, in order to qualify under 22.2, you need to be supplying the alcohol.
Yeah, that's probably, and I go back to Mr. Boss's comment on page 54 about the agency reports, police, MOH licensing inspectors should have raised the 2016 amendment. I don't actually, and personally, I don't think section 22.2 makes that clear at all. Because under section 22.5, it says specifically for off licenses who the seller can be or must be for special ones, but it doesn't actually state that in the Act who specifically should be holding the on license for these events. I don't get that in the Act at all. It doesn't state it, but it definitely states who should hold off licenses. So that's where I'm a wee bit.
And we need some of our case laws.
We do. So, but let's not go there.
So,
Yes.
yeah, you
It's
obviously,
moving over all of us.
Yeah.
the Westmore commentary, you don't.
I did have a wee bit of a look at that, but that's Westlaw commentary. It's not actually set down in law. It's just people's, you know, if I wrote that would be my opinion, that I don't think it makes it very clear. So that would be, but they didn't ask me to vote there.
And may I add to that, sir, that, I mean, this is happening throughout the country.
Oh, yeah.
It's not specific to here, so.
And that's why we're straying away a little bit from this applicant to get some general information. It's quite good to get it on record. So, yeah, and we're at some stage, I guess there will need to be some case laws. That's good. There you want us, anybody got any of the other items got anything would like me to raise with Simon?
They get confused.
If you want.
I mean, I could raise this in my submission, but it's very pertinent to, the witness alarm Smythe.
We're with Stephanie.
Yep, so I'll leave that then. I'll raise that in submission.
Okay, so I didn't get you when I was on the stand. Okay. Right, back to you. Anybody else? No? Okay.
You can
That's
ask
it.
me any questions. It's all done.
Oh, okay.
Witnesses.
Was there anything?
I'm interrupted.
That's good. That's self-position, we're happy with that.
So it's all evidence, so we come to you later with submissions, okay? You're providing evidence or a submission? Okay.
5-minute recess this time. We'll go to the second reading.
Right. Okay, we're going to 5 minutes. Right.
Okay, back there, George, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I did. But.
I see once keeps thinking it's right point of view. You've got me.
Well, yeah, like, it's like, it's
That's what it is.
so much nature, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, these ones, it's like, yes, we are sort of something.
Not me.
Thanks very much for
The, looks like that anyway. Allegiance. As the arrangement, three looking about the. Not like now, self-standing hearing.
Yeah. And I think, yeah.
Well, go to inspector. Any evidence?
Please.
We'll get this forward. Angie? What do you want? Thank you.
My name is Wayne Boss. I'm employed by the Senate for the as the licensed inspector in the team leader for environmental health. Held this position for 7 years, and I've been in this profession as an environmental health officer for 39 years since 1996. I'd like to read my submission. The Alexander Blossom Festival is reported to be New Zealand's longest running festival, started in 1957 to celebrate the arrival of the spring. The festival is a week-long series of events with a Friday night live drama, Saturday grand parade at the party in the park, Sunday garden tours and much more. The Alexander Blossom Festival Committee Incorporated applied for an on-site special licence on the 20th of March 2025. The application for the Alexander Blossom Festival Saturday in the park, duration of 11 AM to 5:30 PM, with live music at 1 PM. The applicant was advised that Allied Security will be engaged with 12 staff of the event, and the area hosts a range of food vendors selling a variety of hot and cold foods, such as pizzas, salads, wide bag patties, hot chips, burgers. And the festival has expanded its food court to accommodate a variety of international flavours, from Filipino, Indian, Japanese, Thai, from North Eastern event. Vendors sell coffee and a range of soft drinks and other non-alcoholic beverages. And the applicant has advised that each vendor is focused supply low alcohol. Alcohol beverages include beer, wine, spirits, and cider sold in plastic cups and cans. And the applicant has over 40 years of experience in the event and in hospitality. The Southern Supply of Alcohol Act 2012 was enacted on the 18th of December 2012. And the 2013 Blossom Festival is the first under this new statute. The event in 2021 was cancelled due to COVID. The applicant for the event has been issued with a sole overarching on-site special licence every year since 2013, except for 2024. The current district licensing committee has been appointed for 3 years, and it was appointed on the 30th of October 2023 until the 30th of October 2026. Each year, approximately 70 to 90 special licences are considered by the District Licensing Committee, with many being for small scale events. The only comparable event to the Blossom Festival in terms of scale is the Clyde Wine and Food Festival. On the 2nd of April 2014, a decision hearing was held for special licence SP 14020 by the applicant Promote Dunstan for the Clyde Wine and Food Festival. The then Senior Sergeant Gordy Pay, New Zealand Police, and Ray Applegarth, the Licensing Inspector for Central Otago District Council, were both in opposition to the granting of an off-site special licence on the grounds that section 42 was not complied with. And both had no opposition to the granting of an overarching on-site special licence. At that hearing, the police submission stated that in their evidence, they stated that they do not oppose a licence being issued to the applicant for an on-site special licence because having a single licence for a large-scale event is advantageous to the reporting agencies as there is accountability should offences be detected. The police also submitted that section 22(2) 2014 allowed for a special licence to be issued to an entity who supplies as opposed to selling alcohol. As at that time, the statute states that on premises a special licence is designated as an on-site special, the licensee can sell or supply for consumption there to people attending the event. The inspector reported that the police, this interpretation of the Science of Alcohol 2012, and I attached in Appendix 1 a copy of that hearing decision. In 2023, the Central Otago District Licensing Committee considered an application for an on-site special licence SP 23150, applicant Old Cromwell Incorporated for the Old Cromwell Wine and Food Festival to be held on the 2nd of January 2024. The police and the MLH commissions were not opposed, and the District Licensing Committee Chair Lyle Cox raised concerns over the ability to issue an overarching special licence for this event when the applicant was not selling and supplying any alcohol. And I've attached in Appendix 2 the District Licensing Committee's decision for that special application. The District Licensing Committee granted the application at that time on the basis that the time frame was too short for the applicant to change previous practices and the need to review the process in order that the proceeds from the sale of alcohol are returned to the applicant. I've attached in Appendix 3 you see there's an email which refer to some of the communications regarding special licensing. Having regard to the advice by the District Licensing Committee Chair, Cox, the Central Otago District Council of Licensing Inspectors maintain a consistent approach regarding applications for overarching on-site special licences by event organisers who could not demonstrate selling and supplying alcohol. The Wine and Food Festival 2024, organised by Promote Dunstan, was the next large event in Central Otago. The applicant was issued an overarching on-site special licence by virtue of including the sale of an alcoholic drink in the entry ticket purchase. And every stallholder was granted an individual on-site special licence consistent with the requirements of the Act. It's worth noting that in 2024 and for the 2025 Clyde Wine Food Festival, which has already occurred, both the police and the MLH had no opposition. The Alexander Blossom Festival 2024 was not issued an overarching on-site special licence because it did not demonstrate the sale and supply of any alcohol, and all individual stalls were issued with an on-site special licence for the sale and supply of their own alcohol. It's worth adding that the 2025 Clyde Wine and Food Festival was attended by a Central Otago District Council licensing inspector. As far as I'm aware, only the police and the licensing inspector have the power of entry to a licensed premises. And that inspector attended the Clyde Wine and Food Festival with a long smile. It's not in my submission, but I do have here, and I have some copies, the report to me as the Chief Licensing Inspector by Lynn Ferrier of her observations of the 2025 Clyde Wine and Food Festival. And I can hand those round if you wish. They are quite interesting and very contradictory to the witness, Alana Smythe, reporting I'll read some little bits of well-organised event. Duty Manager Gary McClellan and Louise Joyce, who's here today. They were spoken to, there were no issues. If you'd like me to pass that round, I'm happy to do
Yeah, I
that.
think that's probably sent around, please.
Yeah. It's a few scribbles on the top. Well, yeah. Thanks.
Schedule matter, why is this being presented now when all submissions were actually submitted and the licensing inspector could have actually submitted it along by his submission?
Yeah.
I urge that you put little weight to what is being.
Yeah, point taken, thanks. Where are you back now to your?
On 2.2.
Yeah, yeah, on there.
On-site special licence application. The application for the 2025 Alexander Blossom Festival event is asking for an overarching on-site special for the organiser only. The application contains a raft of alcohol management procedures and health responsibility policy consistent with previous events and the experience of the event organiser. The alcohol management plan states that admission cost is $10 per person and under fives are free. In 2024, the festival hosted 44 food and beverage sites, 8 of which sold alcohol, 33 sold food and 3 coffee carts. And the organiser states that they anticipate a similar level of interest in 2025. In addition to the application, support letter was received from the Alexander Blossom Festival, and I've enclosed that in Appendix 4. In summary, this letter states that the 2024 event, the Blossom Festival Committee, had no knowledge of the conditions attached to each vendor's licence, nor any oversight of their compliance. We were unaware of whether each licence designated a licensed area, where those areas were located. The letter goes on to say that a copy of the licence was not displayed for reference, and police officers in attendance were unaware of the vendor's licence conditions. And I just want to have for the committee benefit that the police are sent all licences for this event.
Okay.
And the organiser can ask us for those licences. 27th of April 2025, a draft decision was issued by the Central Target District Licensing Committee Chair John Mann to grant the special licence on the basis that no reports in opposition had been received. There was no other agencies, MOH or police opposing. On the 9th of April 2025, as Chief Licensing Inspector, I provided further information to John Mann, which is attached to Appendix 5, regarding the Statutory Amendments Act of 2016, as none of the agency reports appeared to take this into consideration, i.e. Section 22 of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act was amended by the Statutory Amendments Act on the 17th of December 2016.
You don't have to read that.
I don't need to read it, no. So on the 11th of April 2025, the District Licensing Committee reissued a decision declining the overarching on-site special licence for the Alexander Blossom Festival. The committee commended the intent of the application and confirmed that they are aware of other special licences issued for events that do comply with Section 22(2) of the Act, and encouraged the applicant to relook at this application. 22nd of April 2025, a meeting was held between Central Cargo Licensing Inspector Linda Ferrier, Martin McPherson, Lordy Pay, Charlene Sterling, or the Blossom Festival Committee to discuss the application. The principle that special licence holder must be alcohol as per the 2016 amendment was discussed, and the challenges of events with special licences were workarounds have been undertaken to meet requirements of the Act. A special licences where no sales take place are more problematic. It was agreed at this meeting that the Alexander Blossom Festival would consider resubmitting the application, provide a covering letter regarding how the sale and supply of alcohol will take place, to be reconsidered by the District Licensing Committee. The Alexander Blossom Festival requested that the DLC reconsider this decision and hold a hearing in consideration of Westlaw commentary regarding Section 144 of the Act and needing to consider Section 202. 28th of April 2025, a letter was received from the Alexander Blossom Festival requesting a hearing. That's attached in Appendix 6. Just outlining the statutory penalty, the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012, Section 28B confirms that a body corporate can hold a special licence. The Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012, Section 22(2) stated that on the premises of special licence is designated an on-site special, the licensee can sell or supply alcohol. The Statutory Amendments Act 2016, Section 87, amended Section 22(2) and 3 and replaced the wording in both sections from sell or supply to sell and supply. Thomson Reuters Westlaw commentary provides further clarity regarding this, and it states that the effect of the amendments is to ensure that on-site special licences can only be issued where the licensee will sell and supply the licensee's own alcohol. An on-site special licence will not legitimise bring your own alcohol consumption, nor the consumption of alcohol the licence holder has not sold as well as supplied. The effect of the amendments is to ensure that on-site special licences can only be issued where the licensees will sell and supply the licensee's own alcohol. An on-site special will not legitimise bringing your own alcohol consumption, nor the consumption of alcohol that the licensee is not sold or supply. Some of the other approvals, the application was received by police and they confirmed no opposition. The application was reviewed by Aaron Whip, delegated the medical officer of health, and they had no opposition. And the licensing inspector's report was the 27th of March, and the boss raised no opposition. In conclusion, a single overarching on-site special for the applicant does not appear to meet the requirements of section 22(2) of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012. It's acknowledged that the issue of special licences for events across the country could be described as a clutch. Wonderful word defined in the Merriam-Webster dictionary as a workaround or a makeshift solution that is clumsy, inefficient, and in the Oxford English Dictionary, an ill-sorted collection of poorly matching parts to fudge to fit together. The agency reports, police, MOH and licensing inspector should all have raised the 2016 amendment and the legality that a special licence can only be issued where a licensee will sell and supply the licensee's own alcohol. The applicant's supporting letter which states, as no person can be supplied alcohol at this event without purchasing an entry to the premise, and therefore we are profiting from the sale and supply of alcohol at our event, does not constitute selling and supplying alcohol and cannot be considered an alcohol inclusive matter. The $10 admission per person does not constitute the sale and supply of alcohol. The applicant's supporting letter raised concerns that we had no knowledge of the conditions attached to each vendor's licence, nor any oversight of their compliance, and that no copies of the licence were displayed and is difficult to understand. The event organiser could have required the 8 on-site special licence holders to have provided their licences and any conditions as part of the management of the event, allowing and as part of allowing those vendors to attend the event. And I would add there again, the police are providing copies of all the special licences. Licensing committee may also direct the licensee to display the special licence and any conditions as detailed in section 57(3) of the Sales Report 2000, to which the holder of the special licence must comply. And this requirement was specified in the individual special licences that were issued to the holders in 2024. It states that a copy of the licence shall be prominently displayed within the licence premises, as well as the name of the manager on duty in accordance with the requirements of the Act. I understand that the event was well run, as confirmed in the police submission, and that no alcohol related issues were reported. I support an overarching on-site special licence for this event that meets the requirements of section 22(2) of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act. There are many merits seen in respect to an overarching special licence for event management and control, and it's recommended that the Alexander Blossom Festival are encouraged to revisit their application to consider how it might demonstrate it will sell and supply alcohol in accordance with the Act. Any decision against the requirements of the Act may be precedent setting for other events and could be considered ultra-violence.
Thank you. Stay with us a moment.
I've seen them to later now.
In your final statement there, I support an overarching on-site specialised in this event that meets the requirements of the section 22. You got any particular suggestion how that will be achieved? Noting the applicant believes that's been achieved by their application as a supplementary application information that's been provided.
Well, I have previously held this same role in Dunedin for over 10 years there. And I will suggest that the best example that I have got would be the huge Dunedin Beer Festival with a single licence holder where all of the sale and supply of alcohol is managed through the wristbands and the OUSA controlling all of the money and the sale and supply of alcohol.
What happens if we heard this from Mr. Hughes? The wristbands, what money goes with?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to come in. I was only there at the very first event.
Okay.
And my understanding was that the OUSA, they're the central conduit. They receive all the monies from the sale and supply of all the stalls, and there is a wristband system, which I'm sure somebody else can help me a little bit further.
That's right. So we can write just the Jews talked about that. The question for
No. Just a package.
Thank you.
just like to know if you got any we're raising the preliminary matters about our process procedures and the timing of evidence. Do you got any comment you'd like to make on that now, or would you rather not?
No.
Okay. And you say you're quite strongly stating about by people, for example, paying an entry fee to get in there. Stall holders have to, you didn't say this, but stall holders have to pay to have their for their location to sell alcohol. You're saying that doesn't comply. What are you basing that on? Have you got any justification for saying that that doesn't, it's not in the spirit of the act or doesn't apply to it?
From my understanding, because I'm involved in events which are purely food owned as well, is that there's a pitch fee or an attendance fee at nearly every single event. But I would suggest that that does not constitute the sale and supply of alcohol. If, yeah.
Okay. What about a license fee like for the vendor to be there? They didn't have paid that license fee, they wouldn't be able to sell alcohol. So does that not contribute to a revenue stream for this enabling the sale of alcohol?
In my opinion, I would.
Okay.
It's an open catch.
Yes, of course, yes.
Okay. Any questions you would like, or points you would like us to address with Mr.
The only thing that I will actually say to the committee is,
just remember, you've got the ability to counter things in your submission,
Yes.
close your submission, or you can raise a question.
yeah, the point that he is saying about the can only be issued in legislation.
Sorry, was it?
And in his conclusion, he's saying that in regard to the police and medical officer, health and inspector, for a start, like this is a second report, not a first initial report that was sent to you. That's questionable. The second point is that he has added can only sell. be issued can only be issued where a licensee will sell and supply. In legislation, there is no such word only in legislation. Why does he, or why has he put only in, whereas legislation is a
Which
descriptive?
guys will see which paragraph we're going to see.
It's the third paragraph down to on conclusion.
Oh, yeah, special license can only be issued where license.
Yeah, it can only be issued. Whereas in legislation, because we're on 22.2, it's only phase one, which is the descriptive, which that descriptive of can is giving option. The underlying premise of can was an option.
Oh, I see, can versus only.
Yeah, that is the only thing I don't understand that sort.
At your conclusion, can you explain why in reality the special license can only be when the legislation says can be? Question about the word only. Can only be issued.
And I think if you look back in submission, I mean, that has come from the Westlaw commentary where it actually uses that word. The effect of the amendments is to ensure that on-site special licenses can only, and it uses the word.
Right, that's right, that's why you're attention. No, the rest laws at the commentary. Any other points you would like to start the question?
Please, just like the question for the inspector, I'm not quite sure where it was, but why does he emphasise that he sends special licenses to police? I'd just like the question asked as to why does HAP not receive those reports or special licenses under section 2. Yeah. That's just a question I'd like to know why we're not receiving them.
Yeah.
Or is it just
You're talking about the licenses.
yeah, special licenses. So once the decisions and the licenses are issued.
On a general term, on every time.
Yes.
Yes. So what's the, well, you said, you have to go to the police. Is there any reason why they don't go to the health?
Well, that is an administrative matter. I'm not aware of that. There's certainly no harm in that happening on every occasion.
Okay.
Sorry, just one more comment to that, in our agency meeting that we've had, and I should have probably brought this up at the beginning on the 17th of June, when I asked why were we not being sent our reports or the inspector's reports, especially to this hearing, the decision, and it was confirmed there that Mr. Boss had directed the admin staff not to send it. And there was, we were
Just
talking.
back into the procedural issue here.
Yeah.
Do you have any comment on that? Why you, asked the staff not to send out any of those reports?
No, I wouldn't call that.
Okay, sign it out. Oh, yeah, okay, well, we want to. Anybody else got any?
So I'll just receive these special applications and then receive granted special licenses.
You get the applications, but not the,
Yeah.
not the decision.
Decision. Your clarification.
Okay, we'll check that out.
Several questions, sir. The first one is, does Mr. Boss accept that Westlaw commentary is, it's in the word, it is good commentary and interpretation of some academic somewhere, and their interpretation of the legislation, and the committee and everybody else is entitled to form their own interpretation, which, Westlaw's not gospel, it's not the word.
Yeah. We understand that, it is obviously involved. The Yes, well, I, Mr. Boss, do you understand that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that section 22 uses the word can, 22 uses
Yeah.
the word can. Also, there's, it's interesting to know that Mr. Moss, has his opinion and his position on this application is altered by the supplementary evidence and the arrangement of the committee and the applicant in this matter to actually sell a space caravan.
But
It wasn't brought up, I don't think,
Yeah,
I think I leave that to Mr. Boss's submission at the end.
yes, well, Mr. Moss has made a comment that he supports an overarching licence that meets the requirements of the Act. So does he think that the addition of the space caravan operated by the applicant meets the requirements of the Act?
You know, I have you room to address that in the submission, yeah? Would you want to answer that now? Do you mind changing your statement, I support an overarching on the specialised and meets requirements? Have you anything you've heard so far changes to that statement? Or want you to expand that statement? What do you want to think about it covered in your submission? Please.
Yeah. I need to.
And also like to know that this legislative amendment was in 2016. There's been a number of Blossom festivals since then, other than a COVID year. You know, why was this issue not a section 22 was of such concern to the inspectorate?
Well, I'm going to have a pretty good commentary on all of it.
Yes, well, it just appears that the inspectors have not proposed this application in the past, including this time here and suddenly this year, it's a.
Well, there's obviously big decisions and things that affect that, anyway. Anything else?
No, I just, I'm trying to ascertain why it's been brought up, section 22 has been raised by Mr. Boss, when it hasn't been in all the previous lots of festivals since that legislative amendment was made.
Well, I'm not sure, I was involved in the application 2024, but something changed it.
No, not 2024,
Well,
it's 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, they all operated umbrella. When section 22 was in place, the umbrella license was granted.
I have to ask the people who run it.
Thank you, there's no further
Right.
question.
That includes all the evidence, so I just,
Excuse me, sir, please take on.
no, he's given a submission. He didn't want to give evidence.
I do have some questions to ask, sir, but please, panel.
On what, to,
Just about around enforcement of intoxication.
who the question is direct.
So, in Ms. Beckless Pay's evidence, she brought up a question that couldn't answer, but going through my mind, I think Mr. Hughes can probably answer it for, which would delineate between the overarching and individual licensed booths. So 2024 versus 2023, etc.
For the avoidance of doubt, I wouldn't have any issue with Mr. Hughes being recalled, and I was actually going to ask for permission for Mr. McPherson to be recalled to answer some of the, or address some of the issues that have come up.
Well, I was actually going to ask him first. I'm going to bring him back to the table too.
Excellent, very nice to.
Right, okay, well, I suppose just to get it, there's no real issue with this, if you want to. So
We do want to find out.
we'll go with, Mr. Hughes, you better come back up, side the police. And where you go? Sorry, make sure you tell them.
It's still so
Here's the box of room, actually.
Oh, you still spotted it?
It's still spotted.
Yes, okay, go down. Thanks. Right. You're gonna ask us a question, we'll. If I let across the table, that's
No, so
listen carefully.
So, sir, if I give you an example,
Yes,
perhaps Mr. Hughes could speak to the example. In an overarching licensed area, it's my interpretation that there's duty managers supplied by Mr. Hughes on each booth, et cetera, et cetera. If little Johnny comes up and he is turned down at one booth because of intoxication and then tries his luck at the next booth, 2 booths along, and they serve him, what's the communication between that duty manager on that booth and that duty manager on that booth? How do they give a consistent approach in the overarching? I know, yeah.
okay,
Just,
okay, so my understanding, before Mr. Hughes is that I'm not sure Mr. Hughes is appointing all the duty managers for all the individual licensees, they were very required to provide their own. That's what I think under the agreement with the organiser. Mr. Hughes will have a couple of himself overarching duty managers. So that's my understanding. So yes, Mr. Hughes, how do they communicate? How do you organise the school in an overarching situation where you are have an overarching duty manager role and you've got duty managers in each of the schools? How do you ensure that someone doesn't play the game and gets kicked out of one and then goes to the next one?
So that's why they have one duty manager specifically on bar compliance. So they are constantly checking those bars going around and putting them to the wheel. They report back to me. In the event they see something they don't like, they will either radio me or work at a WhatsApp group that we use, and they will call me over and ask for my opinion. So they're my first point of contact. If they see something they don't like, they'll see sales for that period, and then they will call me over and say what the issue is. So they are supplying their own duty managers. There's people and they'll get the briefing, it's a price on it, gates open.
There's no way of, there's no heavy, when I mean, some of the, like Queensland gave used to have a communication thing where Jack with a red jacket, he's not noticed my bar.
Sorry, yeah.
Can I please tell the other man quickly what's heard that turkey in the red jacket?
We use WhatsApp for, we do it for the craft beer festival as well, all duty managers are on the same thing. We encourage our duty managers that are supplied to other people not to serve. We prefer that they're watching from behind. And I know it is tricky because usually the duty manager is the owner of that operation and they'll want to get in front and round.
Yeah, okay,
So, yeah.
next question.
yeah, no, that answers perfect, because that sort of leads on to the next sort of question, is that if you didn't have an overarching duty manager and each booth was standalone, then what's to stop little Johnny in the red jacket, you know, going to the next booth and getting served? That you hit that communication breakdown is evident. That's
I don't see organised.
it's up to them, both to them, not the.
Yeah, but as the organiser, when they give out a contract for that site, they can insist that they join the WhatsApp group and that communication, surely. But they're not doing it.
Yes, they could, yeah.
Okay. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I still struggle with who's actually responsible.
Okay, well, just,
Yeah,
we've been through that.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the air enforcement as well.
Any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
Right, well, we go back on the stand. Anybody else got any questions for Mr. Hughes?
Not off the top of my head, no, it's been, so,
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's right there.
yeah.
Anybody,
Well, just,
sorry, have you got anything from Mr. Hughes?
I just want to make sure the committee's clear that Mr. Hughes is also an umbrella approach.
Yeah, we got that message.
Where there's one person, where the buck stops there, one person.
Health? No.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you. And now I'd like to recall Mr. Mark. It's really interesting. Yeah, we're going to take a break. I was hoping to get the police to have a submission so they go back and walk the beat. I'll let you come back. Do you have any questions? Some questions of?
Oh,
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Sorry, hey, well, the question.
No, I'm talking to you.
Yes.
It's all witness there.
Yes. Oh, I think Mr. McPherson just want to clarify some issues that have arisen in the course of the.
So they're not clearing will be covered in the submission at the end, because you get a right to,
No, well, it's.
you get the last right of reply.
Yes, no, it is some evidence as opposed to my hearsay type comments that could come so much concern, and he's going to address the, yeah, just a couple of things that have come up in the course of the decisions.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing, the first one I'd like to make is I was told in 2024 by council officers not to put an application because it would be turned down. And that's why we didn't apply for, well, sorry, I did initially apply for a official license like I have done in the past, and it was turned down at an officer level, and I accepted what I was told. But having reviewed that, that's the reason why we're here, because I did make a formal application for special license for an umbrella license. The issue with the vendor we had last year selling jelly shots was brought to our attention. My chair, Charlene Sterling, Lindsay and Gordy went and spoke to the vendor, reminded them of the conditions under the Sale of Liquor Act about alcohol promotions, which basically discourages things like jelly shots. But they spoke more at length about the ethos behind Blossom Festival, about how we're not in the business of actively encouraging people to get intoxicated, and especially young people. And they were also told, no uncertain terms, if they didn't pull their head, they wouldn't be welcome back. And they accepted that straight away. It was the first time that particular operator had been at Blossom Festival, and I think they were just taking an opportunity. The other comment I'd like to make is we're hearing quite a few comparisons between Clyde Food and Wine Festival and the Dunedin Beer Festival. I reiterate what I said earlier. Blossom Festival is not an alcohol-centric event. When people go to the Dunedin Beer Festival, they go there to drink beer. When they go to the Clyde Food and Wine Festival, they go there to drink wine. When people come to the Alexander Blossom Festival, they come to the Alexander Blossom Festival to be entertained. There's beer and wine and cider as an aside. It's not the primary focus. And I think that's something we need to take into consideration. And the final thing I want to say is that I reiterate that having an overall umbrella license, buck stops with my general manager, buck stops with me, and the buck stops with my chair, Charlene Sterling Lindsay. And we take our roles extremely serious. And I think the proof of that is how well that event has been run in the last 20 years.
And question from me. The I just only had a quick look at the site registration form.
Yes.
Because it was raised about, I think, some mention something about these sites paying a fee to be there, whether that could be classified as native, as I mentioned. Now looking through the fees there, there's no special fee for, or it doesn't look to be, for cage someone selling alcohol. Got clubs and pub stall, community groups, craft stall, food beverage, food trucks, catering vans. So where do the alcohol?
The alcohol
Company. Is there any reason why they haven't got a different amount?
We have 4 sites, 4 metre food/beverage. That's the alcohol sites.
Okay.
And then we have 6x4 food trucks and catering vans, which they come under that criteria. Now, if it helps the panel, maybe in future, and that needs to be a bit clearer on actually which box you're ticking that we're selling alcohol, but again, having dealt with most of these vendors for the last 20 odd years, they're either 4 metre or 6 metre food or slash beverage retailers.
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to check whether there was any, if you were doing alcohol, where there was a, suppose you were doing alcohol, there was a different price for you.
No.
Any questions? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Right. That's the end of the evidence. The next stage will be to go through and hear submissions from the agencies, inspector, and then the applicant. We want to go on that now. I might have a break for lunch. How are we going?
Does the council supply you guys with lunch?
No.
What about the hearings panel?
Sorry, what do you want? Yeah. It's only worried, more concerned about your time, but I think what you on the rest of the day, and I'll take it from.
No, I'm here for the days.
It's the
Half an hour?
Nothing. Or else.
One hour?
We'll go with 30, if you want, 130. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing it. Got to find something. Okay, reconvene, sorry, they're late. Oh, didn't use the fault, that was very good. Okay, we're leading into submissions. Now, I understand we are request to provide written submissions rather than verbal submissions.
Yes.
Okay. Just before we go there, so keep into consideration, we've been having, we've heard a lot of evidence, and we understand, we see the evidence for, in support of an overarching, license, the value of that. We still are stuck a little bit on the fact we understand with the ABF and the space, that's direct sale and supply of alcohol into the overarching license holder. It's the other state stallholders, and having heard evidence from Mr. Hughes and other ways of doing this, whether there's some consideration to really embed those other stallholders as contractors, and the proceeds through FBOS machines, mobile FBOS machines go into an ABF fund, and based on the takings on the FBOS machines, they get paid their share again. Something to think about.
Is the, can I ask the committee to review on how we would deal with the cash sales and then?
I wasn't going to mention it. Sorry.
Forget I was.
You get what you asked for. I know it's an issue, but we're just trying to get to a point where we think it would work. You don't think on it?
Yeah, no, it's, we're prepared.
Basing it on an honesty model, is what we're trying to, and not future proofing it, but to mitigate issues that have arisen that we are trying to be solution based, as somebody mentioned. Okay.
It has worked in other venues. I actually refer to, right, on which was more like it wasn't like there was an alcohol centric event, but I won't go into detail, but I haven't got the details of costs and everything, but it is an option. Yes, yeah, so please, we're taking account of the evidence. I'll be writing a decision once we get the submissions in and taking all that into account. And we're also understanding timelines. So keep that in mind, and be interesting to see what comes back in some of the submissions. So for verbal submissions, we will go to urban objectives agency. Please.
No, I don't have any submission back from my written ones first.
Oh, okay. Let's check your right on this.
Will you take that as reading, will you like that again?
Page 46.
So,
Okay, that's very good.
Consent application. Interesting to start thinking.
Well, you want something else?
Sitting on to the, you got it.
Would you like me to read from the application?
Yeah, we'll send that to them, but if we've got, because we are live stream. Yeah. So it's all real, we read today.
So my full name is David M. Cowie, I'm Senior Constable in the Alexandria Police. My portfolio is Alcohol Harm Prevention Officer. We make submission today for the Alexandria Blossom Festival Committee, and I am in support of their overarching licence application. Under section 3 of the Act, having one overarching licensee, they will effect and administer the sale and supply to achieve the object of the Act. Having one licensee for the Blossom Festival ensures compliance with all licence conditions, oversight by a single duty manager, the ability to monitor vendor adherence to regulations, authority to suspend non-compliant vendors if necessary, a single point of contact for enforcement agencies ensuring clear accountability. The practicality of each booth obtaining special licenses and then having to enforce it on patrons, restricting their movements, will undoubtedly cause the vendor some angst and more than likely unwittingly breach their licence. This in turn also causes difficulty in identifying a responsible licensee if seeking to pursue a prosecution. Having an overarching duty manager with a team of standalone duty managers at each point of sale is an option. However, this could become problematic logistically for the organisers. When trying to compare other events like the Blossom Festival, the Cromwell races come to mind. This event is well patronised by the 18 to 25-year-old age group, and an overarching duty manager works very well. In conclusion, there I've worked several Blossom Festivals and witnessed the sale and supply on this Saturday in the park. The day is promoted well as a family-friendly event and is run as such. Some event attendees do get mildly intoxicated, but they are on a low level when relating to their behaviour back to the scab chart. At the end of the day, the crowd disperses without issue into the liquor ban area of Alexandria Township, where this area is policed accordingly.
Thank you. Right. You want any verbal submission or you, no, to a written submission?
Written closed submission.
Okay, and
I will have it to you by close of Monday.
thank you. Well, you got a verbal submission, or would you like to do a written submission at the end too, or you're happy to rely on your evidence only?
Well, I'm happy to rely on my evidence. Obviously, the late brief, supplementary brief, is only read by me this morning, so my submission doesn't talk to that at all. So that was received at 4:57 yesterday, and I read that this morning.
So are you willing to put in a written final submission?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And applicant.
So, yeah, I just would like to say, while we're here, that it's my submission that the legislation in section 22, subsection 2, does not preclude the grant of this licence. That section 22 is open to interpretation, and it can be interpreted in a way that would allow this special licence to be granted in accordance with the application and any conditions you would seek to impose, and that would meet the object of the Act, which is the key point in any decision making. But that is, that's the overview of my submission, but I will put a written submission and also by 5 PM on Monday, just summarising the applicant's position.
Thank you. That's from submissions. Yeah, so we've got submissions from health inspector and the applicant, and the police submission, we've got that there. So we've heard all the submissions, we've got all the evidence, and we'll wait for the written submissions.
Could I just ask if there's any particular points you wish to be addressed in the submissions? Other than everything.
Other what's heard and what we've been talking about.
Yeah, no, so nothing over what you said, yeah. Or maybe anything like to match that's the, yeah.
Yeah, really basically, as we've said at the beginning, no issue with the suitability of the applicant. And we've heard all the evidence on the options and how things have been run or not been run, and we've got all that. So you've heard all that too, so just, I don't expect to be too many pages of submission. But that's all we're after, is that right?
I think so. Is there anything that we've left hanging at the moment, apart from the obvious one? That wants further discussion, very well.
Okay, we'll adjourn the hearing and reserve our decision. Once we've got the other submissions, we'll be writing a decision. Usually we try and get it out in 10 working days, maybe 15, depending on how we go next week, okay?
We are conscious of the time.
Yeah, it is obviously an important thing with the timeline. So thank you very much for your contribution. It's been really useful. I'm sorry it's taking a bit longer than we expected, but it is a big issue. And dare I say it, one day, we most probably will need to get some case law on this.
We are solution driven.
Sorry?
Not this one.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.